sleep, Mr. Wordsworth. You have no function, Mr. Wordsworth. You're an anachronism, like a ghost from another time.
I am nothing more than a reminder to you that you cannot destroy truth.
You're a bug, Mr. Wordsworth, a crawling insect, an ugly, misformed little creature who has no purpose here, no meaning.
I am a human being. I exist. And if I speak one thought out loud, that thought exists, even after I'm shoveled into my grave.
Delusions, Mr. Wordsworth. Delusions, the Bible, poetry, essays, all kind, all of it an opiate to make you think you have a strength when you have no strength at all. You have nothing but spindly limbs and a dream, and the state has no use for your kind.
Yeah? Well, we're gonna have to do something about that. This is RiverWestRadio.com, community-supported radio streaming live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm your host. My name is Michael Wordsworth, and welcome to Breaking Down the News, the show that presents the news highlights of the week, but with a twist. Breaking Down the News is more concerned in bringing you information that wasn't covered on the front pages. Headlines you don't want to miss, because not listening could be dangerous to your freedom, liberty, and health. Thank you for joining us. It is Friday, November 2nd, 2012. The post-superstorm situation continues to deteriorate in the Northeast, with words like chaos and panic and starvation now becoming increasingly common. Victims are dumpster diving for food, having gone hungry for several days. Fuel remains in desperately short supply, and tensions are running high throughout the region. With patience running thin and tension running high in the fight for fuel after Superstorm Sandy, the scene at area gas stations has been chaotic, and that is reporting by CBS News. The situation got so intense in Queens on Thursday, one man was charged with criminal possession of a weapon and menacing after he tried to cut cutting the line at the gas station, and pointed a pistol at another motorist who was complaining himself. Residents are currently waiting in line for 6 hours to get gasoline, and people are just defecating in the hallways. I'm sorry, I couldn't put that any other way. Apparently there's not enough bathrooms in this situation. And they're defecating in the hallways of residential buildings as they have nowhere else to go, but my goodness, go outside. That shocking fact is revealing in a YouTube video if you're really interested to see the visuals on that one. I'm not, but, go ahead. It's a free country for now. Or at least the illusion of freedom is free. And now it costs you a lot of money. It's going to cost you grandchildren, children. But anyhow, hear this quote. Police were in place at many spots to keep the peace between furious, frustrated drivers. And that's from Reuters reported that. According to Reuters, frustration grew for Superstorm Sandy's victims in the U.S. Northeast on Friday, many of whom were left with no power, no gasoline, and little information about when their shattered lives might return to normal. They forgot about us, said Teresa Connor, 42 years old, describing her Staten Island neighborhood as having been annihilated. It's quite a description there, Teresa. Mayor Bloomberg uses generators and resources to run a marathon while New York citizens suffer and starve. Yes, that's just it. Mayor Bloomberg has now abandoned Staten Island victims and has decided to redirect large power generators and police forces, to where? To a New York marathon being held today. What's emerging now is a political elite that is oblivious to the needs of the people. As this article from Reuters reports, and I'm quoting Reuters here, I just walked past 4 huge generators. Those could be put to use for people who need them, said Marjorie Dial, a tourist from Oregon, who was shocked to see the generators in Central Park, where the marathon finishes. According to her, quote, what they've discovered on Staten Island should have been the tipping point. The bodies. I'm not quite sure what she means about that, but according to CBS News, there's another quote, gas is being rationed in parts of New York and New Jersey. The pumps are running on empty, and so is patience, as according to CBS News. Oh, you can go online and see all sorts of YouTubes, all sorts of reports in the mainstream media. I guess what isn't being reported so much today is the fact that they shut down 2 gas refineries on the East Coast, which has essentially jacked up prices in the region, especially here as far as Wisconsin here. Do you think that could have some reason why there's a gas shortage? Why is there a gas shortage? I mean, well, if electric power is out, those pumps won't be able to pump up there, and if they don't have any backup generators, that could be a problem. One fuel buyer standing in line said, "This is crazy. It's like post-apocalyptic scenarios here. You know, with this gas, it's as important as food and water to people. It's a dogfight out here." I was trying to do my best. I got to do my Jersey accent here. He said, "This is crazy. It's like post-apocalyptic scenarios out here, you know, with the gas. Gas is as important as food and water to people. It's a dog fight out here." All right, how's that? That was my New Jersey accent. Sorry for people in New Jersey. You can make fun of here in Milwaukee. We get it, you know. Anyhow, Milwaukee's too easy to make fun of. Well, it keeps getting worse by the day. Con Edison says power won't be restored to most customers until November 10th or 11th because gas stations need electricity to pump fuel, which isn't available because, I don't know, maybe there's just no electricity. Well, this means gasoline supplies won't be readily available to residents for another full week. Can you imagine that? Another week of not being able to get around? Over the next week, it's clear that the situation is going to erode even further. We're going to see more people begging for help, more chaos, and more tensions rising. The political elite will, of course, continue to ignore the suffering of real victims, just like we saw in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. What we're watching here is the failure of FEMA and big government to help the victims in the aftermath of a devastating storm. What we are witnessing is proof positive of the need for individual preparedness in an era of failed government. But wait, there's more. The Red Cross was on hand. The Red Cross showed up with hot chocolate and cookies. Yep, cookies, as if the people there needed hydrogenated oils, refined sugar, and processed wheat. What, to power through this apocalypse with empty calories? How nice, it's sugar buzz. But, you know, honestly, if you're starving, a cup of coffee, cocoa. But the whole point is, I'm sure it was not healthy. I'm sure it was not. The response of the Red Cross basically is an insult when it comes to, cookies, really? No blankets, no fuel, no superfoods, of course, no chia seed, no sauerkraut, nothing like that, no kimchi, which means no real nutrition. Just processed hot chocolate and cookies. Wow. How pathetic is that? Very, very pathetic. Get a D- on that for the Red Cross there. Boo. You know, I guess there's no more reason to give money to the Red Cross. It just goes to buy processed crap that's handed out to bewildered victims who really need help. Soup. Soup would have been a great idea, right? People out there, the number to call in today is 414-935-2951. Preferably disagree, but if you agree, what the heck? We can have an agreement session here. If you have a story, a concern, anything, call in, put it out there. I don't know if you have nowhere else to go. This is Alternative Media Radio. This is Breaking Down the News, and we're on riverwestradio.com. If you're listening to us now, you obviously found us somehow. Hopefully you've got us podcast on your dial there. The one last report before I pull out the commercial. CBS News reported, and I'm quoting them, "We are far from fine. And the fact that the mayor wants to have a marathon this weekend when we've had people who have lost their lives or house, everything they worked for their whole lives, it's unbelievable to me." And that was according to Assemblywoman Nicole Malliotakis. I believe I pronounced that correctly. Malliotakis. All right. Now, look, thank you for joining us today. Obviously, we're going to cover Hurricane Katrina, but we're also going to cover how that potentially will affect the elections. That's right. Let's not forget. How could you forget? You'd have to be living underneath a rock to not know, not in Iraq. Yeah, I guess it works the same way. You'd either have to be living in Iraq or under a rock to actually... actually not hear that the United States of America is having an election with two main candidates coming up, Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. You also have some lovely third-party candidates. Gary Johnson seems to be a favorite amongst the third-party followers. I guess it would be libertarian largely. We need about 20 more parties in this country. I'm sick of two, and the third getting kicked to the side is pretty pathetic. But we're going to discuss elections. We're going to discuss Hurricane Sandy. We're going to discuss the impact on the elections and much, much more. I'm Michael Wordsworth. Don't touch that dial. Like, you got a dial. There's no freaking dial anymore. Is there? We're not on FM. We're just on internet. All right. We're going to pull out of here. Let's do it, people. All right. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
Experiments have shown that less than 1 minute after the viewer begins to watch television, the brain switches from beta-level consciousness, associated with active and logical thought, to alpha level, which is associated with passive acceptance and suggestibility. This is why advertisers spend billions of dollars a year on commercials, as well as product placement within TV shows. Political messages are implanted in fictional TV programs as the relaxed meditative state of the viewer is receptive to the programming.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. Just days after Hurricane Sandy blew through the Northeast, leaving huge swaths of New York City powerless and flooded, anger is rising among residents as shortages in food, gasoline, and basic supplies begin to take their toll. In what is becoming a case study for why disaster preparedness is so vital, state troopers are being deployed in greater numbers at gas stations along the New Jersey Turnpike and the Garden State Parkway, where stocks of gasoline are beginning to run low, causing frayed nerves and high angst on the third full day of massive power outages that industry analysts don't expect will be fixed too soon. Fox News and other outlets are reporting that frustration with the dwindling supplies of gasoline and other necessities of life is beginning to boil over in the tri-state region of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. The states hardest hit by the Superstorm Sandy caused power outages. This quote from Fox News: residents jockeyed for fuel at the few stations still pumping, searched store shelves in vain for batteries, struggled with sporadic cell phone service, and found themselves unable to buy necessities at supermarkets. Ouch, not a good time to prepare, was that, huh? You know the show Preppers? I think I've seen half an episode. I don't watch TV, and I definitely don't, watch any. But my point is, what I've gleaned from listening to people that do talk that I've talked to that have watched the show Preppers, the general assumption is that these people are crazy for getting prepared for something. My goodness, that's just crazy talk. Well, what do we got now? I mean, look, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. What we've got now is what is statistically more likely happen to any city or region in this country: a natural weather disaster. However, let's take it one step further. Was it really natural? I'm going to dig up some articles later. Now listen to this. I'm going to dig up articles later that actually point out that there was indeed weather manipulation that occurred. That's right. Well, in the meantime, we're down touching news in New Jersey, New York region. In statements released to reporters, New Jersey State Police officials said their officers would be deployed in conjunction with local police to ensure, quote, safety and security. Of course, always, just like in Hurricane Katrina. New Jersey State Police Sergeant Adam Grossman told Fox News, troopers been deployed to monitor operational gas stations at the rest areas along the turnpike. Well, okay, that was my police officer on the spot voice. Actually, I went a little too south with that. I haven't been practicing my Jersey accent, so I gotta watch more Goodfellas or something. I don't know. So you wait in line for 5 friggin' gallons of gas? That's the quote. Gas has been in heavy demand in the region following the storm, both to power automobiles and for home generators. It is one commodity that has thousands waiting in line, which is only adding to the frustration and loss of patience. In Wayne, New Jersey, for instance, police report that they were forced to break up heated confrontations at the gas station all day long Wednesday. Ooh, that was a fun day, wasn't it? Breaking up conflict, being babysitters at the gas station. I mean, when police are sent out to basically be hall monitors on the public, we're wasting their time by making them babysit the public. In Brooklyn, meanwhile, tempers overheated at the Getty station as some drivers excited their cars, or I'm sorry, not excited, actually got out of their cars and exchanged angry words in excitement. Yes, angry excitement. This from Abdul Rahim Anwar. He told Reuters, apparently he was a guy at the Getty service station in Gowanus, Brooklyn, and Reuters pulled up and stuck a microphone in his face, and he said, "I don't have any lights, and I need this gasoline for my generator." Well, he wasn't the only one. Officials say better than half of all gas stations in New York City area and New Jersey are not operating, either because they don't have fuel or because they don't have the electricity to operate their pumps. Worse, supplies in the area aren't likely to rise since a good number of pipelines and refineries have been shuttered just due to storm damage. As of Wednesday, reports said more than 80% of gas stations in New Jersey could not sell gasoline. 80% could not sell gasoline in New Jersey. In southeastern Connecticut, residents were driving more than an hour north to find stations that had power to pump the gasoline. One station attendant said the tension becomes especially pronounced after customers wait in line to fill gas cans as opposed to vehicle fuel tanks. This quote from one of the guys on the scene: "You're waiting in line for 5 friggin' gallons of gas." In North Vale, New Jersey, at an Exxon station where a line of cars stretched for a third of a mile into the late hours of Wednesday night, a separate line of men carrying red gas cans inched along as well. That's kind of the imagery here. Cliffside Park resident Barry Levin, 42 years old, his comment was, "I'll wait here all night. I need this for my family." Well, aware of the worsening crisis, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie made moves to increase supplies of gasoline and diesel fuel by cutting red tape that makes it harder for stations to buy from out-of-state suppliers. That waiver will remain in place at least until November 7th. Oh, my goodness. That's just in time, Governor Christie, that you have this policy to make it difficult for stations to buy from out-of-state suppliers. My goodness, that's very important. And what with the crisis coming and everything, who would have thought, right? I mean, who would have thought, like, somebody would have flew planes into the World Trade Center either? Oh, wait. I guess Donald Rumsfeld. What's her name? I'm glad I can't even. Condoleezza Rice. I almost forgot her. And you can't forget her. She's going to go down in history as one of Kissinger's minions. Yes, Michael, I like to employ Condoleezza Rice to help me take over the world and benefit of the Rothschilds and Rockefellers. Well, this quote, when shortages threaten after natural disasters like Hurricane Sandy, fuel buyers need to venture farther from state borders to ensure their customers get the gasoline and diesel they need. Treasurer Andrew Sidimon Aristoff said, quote, temporarily suspending licensing is a prudent way of empowering merchants to buy fuel rather from the state line, boosting supplies for New Jersey motorists who need fuel to get to work and do their jobs. Well, Kevin Bayer, and that's Beyer, head of the Long Island Gasoline Retailers Association in Smithtown. Dang it, I wondered who ran that organization. It turns out it's Kevin Bayer, and a completely unknown guy except in Long Island, and he runs the Gasoline Retailers Association in Smithtown, New York. Okay, I'm being facetious here, okay? I never will care, whatever. Well, this guy said if most customers only knew that the gas they need is sitting just underground at gas stations, they'd be totally freaking pissed. It just can't be pumped at the moment. They'd be even more frustrated. Oh no, that's terrible. You're waiting in line at the gas station. The gas is in the tank underneath the ground, but you can't get it because there's no electricity. If only one person could show up with an emergency backup generator on the back of his pickup truck with some gasoline to run it, they could get the gas and keep the generator going because they're getting, you see where I'm going like this? It would help get the gas out of the ground. People could get gas. I guess not. That's the problem with being stupid. It's often when we are stupid, we have to suffer painful mistakes due to our negligence, our ignorance, our stupidity, our lack of preparedness. Oh, laugh at the preppers, people. Everybody, ha, 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 ha. You're storing food. Oh, you're an idiot. Oh, you think things happen. Historically, we know things have never happened on planet Earth. Pompeii. I'm sorry, the people of Pompeii, Mount Vesuvius, no, volcanoes never erupt, earthquakes never happen, tornadoes never ravage through things, dams never break, droughts, floods, famine, pestilence, cats and dogs living together, real wrath of God kind of stuff. Well, it's said that you see the worst in people at times like this, and also you can bring out the best. It could be until the end of the next week before all of these gas stations are open again and operating. God forbid somebody should actually bring up a power generator up there and end this problem. But I wonder what the guys see. Okay, well, in addition to gasoline, batteries, particularly D batteries, were in high demand, but stores that carried them were cleaned out in order because of the short run on them from the storm. Everybody at the last moment said, batteries, I got to get batteries. Before that happened, some reports said the batteries were selling for as much as $5 each. Can you imagine that, man? All right, now check it out. I mean, you know how people got rich in the past? They had it's the same thing as commodities. Buying futures, setting and fixing the rate. Like I agree to buy these crops 6 months from now at this rate, and then there's a shortage, and now you've got some of the only supply available. Well, what happens? You get to sell them for more. Is that price gouging? No. I mean, look, it's price gouging when you have a monopoly on the gas stations in a town, and you say, all right, I'm going to fabricate a shortage artificially and then jack up the prices based on my artificial condition there. Problem created, problem solved, I gain profit and power. Were I to be an evil person doing such things, which I wouldn't. But look, if I bought a case of D batteries and I heard that they were going for $5 each during a storm or something, and people actually had $5, yeah, I mean, to complete idiots, sure, I'd be like, $5 batteries. My friends and family, yeah, sure, I'm going to kick them down a couple batteries. It's not like it's no big deal. How long is this crisis going to last? Not long. I mean, really, when you think about it, most people, they really just needed to be prepared for a couple of weeks. That's probably it. Well, the storm that, interestingly enough, let me dovetail right into this. Forecasters predict another nor'easter may hit the East Coast on Election Day. This weather, the election, what bad timing indeed. What bad timing indeed. The chemtrail report from Milwaukee skies, it's hardly cloudy except for a slight haze, and I only see one chemtrail cutting across the sucker. And of course, my view is limited, and I have the sun beaming right in my face, which is actually kind of nice. All right, people, stay out there. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
When you start talking about manipulating the environment, we have treaties that go back to the mid-'70s that forbid this, number one, as weapons of war.
So the perfection of weather modification took place, but it became apparent that using weather modification for wartime purposes was not acceptable to the United States government and other nations of the world. So therefore, the NMOD Treaty came into being and was signed by the United States government after passing Congress. The reason it was signed and implemented was because it would ban warfare, weather modification techniques and use during times of war.
Almost all of our treaties that we've signed, including the non-proliferation, counter-proliferation treaties, chemical treaties, the ones that were signed recently, last few years, back maybe a decade now, I guess time goes. But they had domestic exemptions, and so does the environmental treaty. Where you can do whatever you want in your own territorial boundaries. When you start manipulating weather in one part of the planet, it doesn't look on the ground and say, oh yeah, wait, this is the boundary of a political boundary. It fails to recognize those. So you start to talk about geophysics and manipulating the planet itself. Then it's a question of those kinds of exemptions shouldn't even be allowed.
Meteorology and the military have a very long history, as I said, and it goes into the strategic advantage that multiplies your traditional force, that is your armament, into using nature to your advantage as well.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. And we're back. You're listening to Breaking Down the News. I apparently have to change that little short segment that I have there. We're no longer streaming live Monday and Wednesday. Only Friday at 3:30 to 6 p.m. And that's okay because you can listen to the show archived all the week long. I usually pick up the highlights of the week, put it all together for you. If we have enough people calling in and actually saying, no, I want you on more, I would go on more, but it just seems like once a week is good enough. And look, it's getting a little hard out there. It's important to stay on top of things. But nonetheless, I digress. That's on a personal note. But again, we're only on Fridays now. So now listen, forecasters predict a nor'easter may hit the East Coast election day. Another messy and wintry storm may cause post-election day problems for an already weather-weary East Coast, according to forecasters, but meteorologists add that it's 6 days out, so that's rather early to get too worried. The forecast could change before it hits late next week. The National Weather Service Forecast Center in College Park, Maryland, which watches winter storms, put out a long-range notice Thursday saying a nor'easter was possible for mid-Atlantic and New England states by Election Day through next Thursday. Well, just in case, though, just in case, with all the pandemonium, okay, I'm going to cover how we've got in New Jersey, we've got, where is this here? Okay, you got 2 million people in New Jersey without power in the aftermath of this Hurricane Sandy, and a national election due next week. It's been determined that the best way forward is to hand over the reins to the Department of Defense. I mean, the DOD. This gets kind of interesting, doesn't it, folks? Yes, the New York area, tri-state area, whatever, is indeed one of the most populated areas in the country, and it's not, when you have a disaster happen like that, it makes things difficult due to the great numbers of people. But what apparently the Department of Defense has decided that we need military trucks and backup, and I guess we see it in the movies all the time. So, whenever there's a crisis, military guys roll in to save the day. Well, many polling stations will have no power and therefore no means of conducting their duties on Election Day. The deadline for processing mail-in ballots has been extended until Friday. However, many will still have no means of voting. The AP reports that in light of this, the military trucks are to be parked in the vicinity of polling stations and will be authorized to issue and accept paper ballots. Republican Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno, Guadagno. That's the best I can do, folks. Well, Kim said voters will find, quote, a Department of Defense truck with a well-situated National Guardsman and a big sign saying, vote here. Quote, there is no reason not to vote. There's no reason not to vote today. There's certainly no reason not to vote on Tuesday, 5 days from today, Guadagno said. I don't know what kind of accent Guadagno has, so I'd have to, anyhow, what does it matter? Clearly, there are concerns with these plans, aside from the fact that having armed soldiers in uniform overseeing a democratic voting process is somewhat troubling. Somewhat, yes, it's somewhat troubling. The fact that the location of polling stations will be mobile and not announced until the last minute opens up an increased possibility of fraud. Although Obama was projected to comfortably take New Jersey, Governor Chris Christie told reporters that, quote, an old school, end quote, voting method could mean some races might be more suspenseful. Voting races, that is, not human races. CNN reports that many polling stations in Delaware, New York, and Pennsylvania are also struggling to prepare for the election. In Nassau County, 90% of the county's polling stations are currently without power. Those that do are running on generators because they thought ahead and have them. And many have been damaged. And many just have been damaged by the flooding. That would be a bummer. You got a backup generator and it gets flooded. Well, that's where you go to step 2 of contingencies. You have to go. Maybe I have to put the power generator somewhere where it won't get flooded. Officials. Oh, we love officials. Sorry, every time I read the word officials, I freak out. They also report that they are currently uncertain what to do with electronic voting machines. Unplug them and go back to paper ballots? Yeah. Quote, this is our biggest problem at this point is getting the machines to the polling places. Nobody dared to accept the machines, said Dennis Kobitz, president of the New Jersey Association of Election Officials, noting that many of them are locked in without power. The voting, it's going to be hard to vote. It definitely puts a crimp into the plans of voting this week. Kobitz asked, do I leave the polling stations at the polling stations? Wait, do I leave the polling machines at the polling stations? That's what his actual quote is. How do you take a chance that the schools will have the power? I don't know. I guess kind of, we ain't got the power. We can't vote today. Kobitz also said, I just can't deliver 433 machines. There's no way to do that one day. Yeah, I guess there's no way to deliver 433 machines in one day with no gasoline. Well, leaving such voting machines unattended or running them on generators is a recipe for disaster, especially considering the documented vulnerabilities of the machines and previous widespread occurrences of voting machine fraud. I say that because Yeah, go ahead. Voting fraud in America, could it ever happen? Could it ever happen? Happens all the time. In fact, I got to dig up some articles and read just what I heard that even the foreign countries want to send in observers just to make sure our elections are going legitimately in America, where we were supposed to be the promoters of democracy, electoral ballot voting. It's pretty bad when we're rigging our own elections. But you know what? We've been rigging elections in this country for a long time. I mean, you'd have to be kind of naive not to understand, believe, or know that. You would. It's kind of but it used to be on such a small scale. Now it's kind of it's a big business. Diebold, for those of you that really care, and that should be all of you, go check out blackboxvoting.org. Her name escapes me now, which I should. What is her name? I got so many facts and figures in my head. Sometimes they just don't come together. Blackboxvoting.org. I'm gonna have to look that up because it's somewhat embarrassing now because she, Beth Harris, a great woman. Went out and she's got blackboxvoting.org. Just go online and Google it. It'll take you to her site. She uncovered that the Diebold voting machines actually had the problem with them wasn't in the machines themselves, but in the little mechanism that they stick in to count the number of votes into the machine. It's kind of like a flash drive, sort of. Well, inside that little drive card, the little stick they put in there, and then they pull it out, and then they tabulate all those sticks from all the machines. They're not like hooked into the internet or something. They still manually pull them and go count them on another machine. Well, it turns out there was an executable program inside that little device. Not in the machine itself, but the thing they stick into the machine. There was an executable program that actually took off votes for every time somebody voted for Gore, Bush got the vote. So it's kind of weird. I guess there were actually negative votes at one point. Like how many people voted for Gore? It turns out negative 13 voted for Gore. It was like there's no anti-vote. You see my point here? You can't achieve a negative. It only points out to the absolute hypocrisy and insanity, which by now we've all accepted as normality. All right, tell you what, let's just cut to a commercial here because, my goodness, we have so much to cover today. I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee. It's well needed. It's actually kind of a nice day out here. It's a little chilly, but we're used to that. And, please don't go away. Seriously. I've got more news that's going to freak you out. I mean, that's the whole point. It's a Freak Out Friday. No, not really. All right. We'll be right back. Please don't go away. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. Every day, people wake up all over the world and hear commercials like this one with soft music and a soothing announcer's voice telling you how great some big corporation's new technology will help you and your family. But it is important to remember, these companies could give a flying fuck about you or your family. That's why Breaking Down the News has made this commercial to counter their commercials. Don't be fooled by them. The battle is to gain control of your mind through media propaganda. Just say no to evil corporations and their slick computer graphics designed to brainwash viewers. Vote no with your dollars, and we will regain the health of our nation, one consumer at a time.
Now it is time to make light of the issues.
Economists, that's right, economists. You know they're about the most useless thing. They're paid to be wrong 2/3 of the time. And I'm telling you, our economy, they keep telling us our economy is getting better, right? Right? I mean, what a joke. It's like Hitler reporting back to the German people that he's winning the war. Isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, there's no... Just look at the jobs market right now. It's just ridiculous, huh? We must be having a jobless recovery. A jobless recovery. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. And we're back. As society unravels in the wake of Sandy, politicians endorse more power for what? FEMA, concentration camps. That's right, the Federal Emergency Mandate Act is on hand. Newswires across the spectrum are filled with harrowing signs of unfolding social collapse in the wake of Sandy that it could exacerbate in the days to come, as power outages are expected to last a week, pitting residents against each other over access to gasoline, food, and other necessary supplies in large pockets of the most densely populated area of the nation. That desperation is sure to further intensify in proportion with strained resources, as order has already started to dissolve under reported limits on cash and commerce as electronic payment is suspended, and those on food stamps are unable to use EBT payments. Ooh, that's a tragedy, actually. See, now that alone is one of the many great reasons why we should never go to digital currencies completely. I mean, look, if you have a power outage and you're in an emergency situation, what are you supposed to do? I'm sorry, man, I'll have to owe you? Well, imagine images of hungry people diving for food in dumpsters, making clear that neither individuals nor governments were prepared to keep things running and meet basic needs despite the hype over the superstorm leading up to Sandy. Maybe we're just so used to shocking reports that we don't even pay attention anymore, but this time it was very important to go get some batteries, gasoline, some storable food. Stay warm, dry, and fed, folks. Those are the three basics: warm, dry, and fed. Shocking accounts of eroded civility have cropped up across social media and in reports throughout the news. As Breitbart demonstrated, numerous threats were made at gun or knife point, while long lines for gasoline saw fights in high tension. Gas stations continue to be guarded by armed police as supplies are rationed. Just a few of the chronicled comments include, just watch two people beat the beep out of each other in the gas station. On the bright side, I have a full tank of gas now. Yeah, well, good for you, sir. You got a full tank of gas, actually got some gasoline, and you got to see a good fight. I hope it was entertaining. This comment from Camellia Xavier, she said, it's just awful. Someone just pulled a knife at Greenpoint gas station, and the line stretches with hours long. You know, of course, you know, like, if you're in a line and you bring a knife to go get gas, okay, first off, never bring a knife to a gunfight. And never shoot guns around gasoline, but I guess there is none because the power is out, so I guess everybody's safe. And the guy with the knife wins. Yay! I don't know what's wrong with me. 2 hours at a line in Route 23 in Butler. Got to the pump. They ran out of gas 2 cars before this person. Then I'm on reserve and can't make it to another station. This quote from Christina, somewhere out here in America. Watching the breakdown of society at a gas station in Long Island. Hurricane Sandy sucks, she says. And Frank Leahy reports there's fights at the gas station. I wonder if that's Mr. Leahy from Trailer Park Boys. I wonder if he moved from Canada down to New Jersey and he's trying to stay sober. And, well, yeah, Mr. Leahy, for those of you that know the Trailer Park Boys, you know what I'm talking about. So anyhow, Lootings and break-ins are predictably taking place as well. Include reports that many thieves are dressing up, now check this out, as Con Edison or FEMA employees to gain access to homes. Now, what could be sicker? Like, seriously, anybody in a storm taking advantage of people by wearing FEMA costumes to go in and do what? Like, rape the women, steal the food, get away with the gold? I mean, this is pretty sad, pretty bad. But this is something that people have to watch for. So, I mean, just keep in mind if we ever have a disaster here or anywhere that you live, you can't even trust that the guys, just because they're wearing a FEMA jacket, doesn't count. All FEMA guys, all FEMA actual contractors or employees, they have photo ID badges, ID cards. And you have to verify that. It has to, you should know. I mean, because, like, you try and trust somebody. They come in, they knock on the door, and they say, FEMA, just checking to see if you're safe in there. Anybody home? And you come to the door, and you're like, oh, yes, I'm so glad FEMA's here. Yay. No, we're okay. We need some batteries, and it's been a little dark and cold, but I've been eating boxes of Kellogg's cereal lacking any nutrition whatsoever, and I'm starting to get fatigued with hunger, but I can't tell because I think cereal's food. But that doesn't matter, Mr. FEMA agent, because you're not even a FEMA agent. You're actually here to potentially hurt or rob me and my family. Well, that's the world we live in. But really, honestly, like, has the world ever really been any different? I mean, it's always been open season on suckers. So what's the moral of the story? Don't be a sucker. Food and water will continue to be an issue for days to come, with many residents already begging for help, with distribution of supplies hampered by a lack of power and many groceries contaminated by the floods. Dang, even if you get the groceries, they're contaminated. But FEMA, my Kellogg's cereal that lacks no nutrition is water-soaked with sewer water. Oh, crap. I don't know. Should I eat it? It's got sugar. I better call somebody. Oh, the power's down. I can't. All my cell phones are out. I can't get on Facebook. Sorry, I mean, just like, how bad could it be, They can't watch TV. I wonder how the football game is going to do, Will they somehow still manage to drink beer and watch football? I bet somehow they will get their act together just in time for the football game. Well, once again, this bloated government agency can't and won't help the masses in a disaster. Yep, politicians throughout the corporate-owned two-party system are lining up to meet any request for FEMA funds, already approaching, get this, $12 billion plus. Despite its track record of failure, they want $12 billion. While nearly 5 million people are without power for perhaps another week, the Huffington Post, among others, has identified 7 million living in FEMA disaster relief zone, soon to be occupied by an inefficient top-down control mechanism. My goodness, I've got a list here of all the different counties and cities that will be participating in this. Hurricane Sandy left 17 million in disaster areas. My goodness, notoriously. Now listen, FEMA botched any meaningful relief efforts after Hurricane Katrina. I mean, seriously, you got to know this. Everybody listening here, remembers Hurricane Katrina. You might not know all the facts, but you'll find it's interesting. Police and military stood down. Police actually took part in looting. Actual National Guard forces went to rich, affluent neighborhoods that were high and dry, meaning they were safe and dry and warm and not experiencing a crisis. In fact, they were doing fine. They had food and whatnot. But the National Guard went around confiscating guns in those neighborhoods. Yeah, most people don't know about that, but seriously, it's true. In America, they went around and seized guns during Hurricane Katrina. Now, you might say, well, that's good because, we can't. But look, they didn't take them from criminals. They took them from the good, decent people that were living in their homes away from the disaster. You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It's alarming. Okay, well, Over-the-top FEMA reactions are creating an occupied martial law zone where guns were confiscated, even in dry areas. The needy and the vulnerable were placed in a hotbed of criminals at the Superdome, and people were shot for trying to cross the bridge and exit the disaster area. Congressman Ron Paul weighed in as a lonely voice willing to critique FEMA's history of inefficiency and naked power grabs while defending the centuries of local aid organized within the community and simply helping each other. Well, thanks, Ron Paul. Apparently, we're not going to see you as president this time. But at least you made us talk about issues, and that was good. There's a good case for stating that FEMA's true intent is not to prevent natural disasters from devolving into social chaos, but rather simply to step in and soak up massive funds and denominate local and private relief agencies. That's the way it is. That's the way it goes. That's just the way it is, right? All right, we're going to take a short break here. I'm going to fly down to Dallas, and we're going to do an interview with the TSA right now, so we'll be right back. Don't go away. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. The TSA has consistently made the news with bad reports about its moral conduct, questionable employees, civil rights violations, everything from workers stealing cash out of travelers' luggage to trafficking drugs through airport security gates. Congresswoman Blackburn recently brought to the news media an awareness of the TSA's hiring of known child molesters and child porn collectors. My question is, why are we putting up with this? Why have we become so tolerant of being peasant slaves that we will acquiesce to anything? I've come to the DFW International Airport outside Dallas, Texas, to ask some questions of ordinary passengers and to interview the TSA workers themselves. Let's go in and see what they have to say.
I don't like what I have to put up with every time I fly.
Ted Wilsonberg travels by plane frequently and has to get groped on a regular basis. But does he have to put up with this?
No. Hell no. I'd keep these guys out of here if I could.
So you don't think that we need to be molested in the interest of national security?
No. Think about it. A police officer can't just come up and put their hands in your crotch. But these guys feel me up every time I pass through these gates.
But why do you put up with it?
I have to do this. My job depends that I fly 3 to 4 times a week. I have a family, you know?
The TSA stands for total suckasses when it comes to trampling on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. How do they get away with it? I asked the director of security here at the airport at Dallas-Fort Worth. Yeah, well, when you pass through them doors, them front doors of this airport, you're no longer in America, boy. You're now in international territory bound by international law. And that's the great secret. The Constitution of the United States does not apply in its airports. Since September 11th, 2001, the Bill of Rights has been circumvented because of the threat of terrorism, when in actuality, you're more likely to die from a bee sting or be struck by lightning than actually be affected by terrorists.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Time with 2 little girls.
Every day, our senses are being constantly bombarded by subliminal messages that are found in TV, movies, and advertisements. The subliminal messages we are subjected to are unrecognizable by the conscious mind and only recognizable in our subconscious mind. The messages and imagery are passively absorbed and then stored in our subconscious, where propagandists deliberately implant artificial thoughts, which in turn can affect our actions and attitudes later in life.
And now,
Live from River West Radio, the man with words worth listening to, your host, Michael Wordsworth.
Hey! Oh, yeah. All right. We are so back. I got coffee in me. Yeah. All right, let's continue with some brevity here. Some levity, brevity, and lightness. Yeah, I'm just floating, aren't I? No, actually, I'm sitting in a chair talking into this microphone. How about, why would, what's up, man? No, okay. Look, just, for the hell of it, if you actually do want to call in today, the number is 414-935-2951. Phone lines are open. That reminds me, you remember the Jerry Lewis telethon for the muscular dystrophy? I mean, he was really sincere about that. The guy, Jerry Lewis, worked a long time for it. Well, it turns out recently somebody came to Jerry Lewis with a cure. Not only preventative measures, but a cure for muscular dystrophy. Jerry Lewis was elated. He went to the MDA, the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation, and told them, and he's fired now. That's right. After how many years? 30 years, Jerry Lewis worked on the muscular dystrophy thing. We all remember him. Even as a kid, I used to go around to doors and collect money, and my parents actually drove me down to the thing. They had this place downtown where they were doing the broadcast, and you could drop off the money to them, and it was like this. You got this big warm feeling, you're collecting money for these kids, and Jerry Lewis worked very hard for that. Was a big proponent of it. Somebody actually found the cure. I mean, please Google this. It's out there. Found the cure, came to Jerry Lewis and said, hey, look, Jerry, you should be happy. Jerry was. He went to the foundation and they said, you're fired. Get out of here. Sad but true. Well, New Jersey also has a lot of sad, true stories this week. One of the most unusual things, Jersey has got to be strong union-backed, have a strong union-backed labor force, because when people tried to volunteer to help with the disaster relief, New Jersey sent them away because they are not unionized. All right, this from RussiaToday.com. Utility workers from across the U.S. are descending on northeastern states left ravaged by Superstorm Sandy, but some volunteers making the trek are being told they can't pitch in since they don't belong to a union. All right, is that taking unions too far? I mean, okay, according to a report published late Thursday by WAFF News out of Seaside Heights, crews coming to assist all the way from Alabama's Decatur utilities were turned away because they are not unionized. Despite making the 800-mile jaunt to lend a hand, they were told, sorry, you have to join our union first before you can help. The WAFF quotes Decatur worker Derek Moore, who tells the network that he and his colleagues were frustrated, being told in essence, thanks but no thanks. In other words, being brushed off. Left with nothing to do in New Jersey, Moore, like Michael Moore, I don't know, not him, but it's spelled the same way, Moore. Well, Moore and other members of the Decatur team are reportedly waiting in Roanoke, Virginia, to see if Seaside Heights authorities will change their mind. Okay, we'll hang out here in Roanoke, Virginia. We'll get some coffee, some breakfast. Maybe they'll change their mind. I don't know. Meanwhile, though, millions of residents up and down the East Coast remain without power after a powerful tropical storm downed power lines and flooded streets from North Carolina to New England. Well, why do we need any help? Only union labor. This could take months, but only union members will do it. But we won't be able to get gas out of the pumps. No, we'll take care of the gas stations first, and then we'll get to the residents. It sounds to me, why can't we all come together in moments like this? Because, I don't know, anything we do has just got to be effed up, doesn't it? According to the latest figures available early Friday, the death toll from the Frankenstorm, as they call it, Hurricane Sandy, may already be close to hitting 100, and recovery efforts are expected to continue for weeks, if not months. At the same time, though, things may be off to a slower start in New Jersey if non-unionized volunteers are refused from helping any further. Bill Yell, a spokesman for Alabama's Huntsville Utilities, tells L.com, "These Yankees are crazy." Damn Yankees won't let us come up here and help because we ain't part of the union. Damn it. Oh, no. He actually told AL.com that 9 of his employees are currently helping with the recovery from the storm, but not in New Jersey, where he claims they were told they were not needed. Instead, his crew of unionized workers has been volunteering their service with Long Island Power Authorities in New York. Now, can you belong to a union in another state? Would that have been, or must you be part of the Jersey Union or New York Union of what? Disaster relief workers? I mean, they need electrical contractors, all those cable guys that crawl up the telephone poles with their ladders and trucks. They need those guys. They need power line damage specialists and experts to go out there and fix that stuff. Why couldn't they use help? Why can't we put together a civilian task force? Why we have to have just the military now? While we sit at home like blithering idiots staring at a blank TV screen because there's no power, going, I just can't help. I have to sit here and be a moron. That's all I can do. Well, according to ABC News, more than 40,000 workers from utility companies across 49 states have been dispatched to the East Coast to aid in recovery efforts, and they said, screw it. If the unions won't take us, we're going to break through the lines, and we're going to help these people. No, that doesn't actually say that, but I don't know, chaos. Union and non-union workers in a fist fight in the middle of the street while there's no power and water and gasoline. Yeah, it's kind of like that reminds me of that movie, The Gangs of New York. Apparently they have a long history of this. Anybody here has seen the Gangs of New York, set like in early 1900 immigrants coming in. The fire departments were owned by 2 different guys. They'd show up at the same fire, and they'd fight amongst each other in the street as to who would have the rights to put out this fire in the neighborhood. And while they're fist fighting, the house is burning down. So I guess if that movie had any historical basis, then we're probably going to see a small reenactment of that this week. On Thursday, forecasting firm Equicat, I don't know, EQECAT. Usually after Q you have a U, but not in this case. EQECAT estimated the damage from the storm to be close to $50 billion. I love that, how they say the storm did $50 billion worth of damage. I mean, like, you could really put a price tag on it. I'm sure insurance companies can. I stand corrected. They have these underwriters and these risk assessment managers that totally can figure this stuff out, at least within a 5 to 7% margin. So, it's true. I just corrected myself, didn't I, there? We've been ranting on and on about New York and its Hurricane Sandy crisis since the beginning of the show. I guess I'm just going to have to, when I get offline here, I'm going to have to put the show topic today, Hurricane Sandy, New York, and all the craziness that ensues from it. Well, the looting. New York looting, reminder that of Wall Street's bank bailouts. What's the connection between Wall Street and New York looting? Well, the guys on Wall Street do it with style. While the other people just snag TVs, these guys snag your children's and grandchildren's money for future generations. That's right. New York looting in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy does not come as a shock in a society not without entitled losers with no concept of property rights. Business owners on Coney Island were ravaged by a murder of looters who were easily seen running away with anything from diapers to TVs throughout the day on Halloween. This is from Gather.com. They were not even wearing masks. You know, it's Halloween. You'd think you'd throw on a mask for a Halloween looting, wouldn't you? I mean, if you're gonna loot, right? You still got that costume sitting there, and you want to wear it again because it's so cool and you had so much fun being a weirdo. You'd think you'd want to like dress up in costume and go looting, at least disguise yourself, but nah. They weren't even wearing masks. The Daily News reported that Joanna's Discount Wine and Liquors on Mermaid Avenue was invaded at 11:30 on Tuesday morning. That's interesting. With this quote from somebody here, it's about time we start taking this stuff back, said one young thief. As if he had owned the merchandise in some previous life, he declared it's about time we start taking this crap back. Like now, if you're not happy with the merchandise you loot, can you return it for a refund? Oh, man. Hold on, I need coffee. I swear I need coffee. Okay, it's understandable to everyone that this kind of looting is wrong because the justification is so stupid. We've got this quote from, who's this quote? I hate it. Articles always have these quotes, but then I have to read to the bottom to find out who said, okay, said a man caught stealing a television. Because on radio it's different. Like when you read, you can read the quote and then go, okay, a man said, caught stealing a television, said this. But like on radio it comes along as stupid. So imagine there's a man, he's been caught stealing a television. But the justification for stealing $750 billion. Okay. Well, we're going to get to that in a second. So a man who's caught stealing a television says, "Look, they've been looting our wallets for too long. That's why I have to steal the TV because prices have been, too high? No. Actually, who's been looting your wallets for too long?" said the man stealing. Well, but the justification for stealing $750 billion in the troubled asset relief program was rather sophisticated and benign. It was not necessary to save the world from collapse, but I don't even know. I mean, the guy stealing the television or Wall Street stealing billions and billions. Secretly, $13 trillion was sent to save and prop up European banks. I guess, guy, take the TV. What the hell? Give it to your kids. They're going to need it because that's all they're going to get. Boy, I've got just news after news after news, and I'm just deciding just what to hear. I should probably get through all this Hurricane Katrina stuff. Or, sorry, Sandy. Oh, I don't even know what hurricane we're in this year. This is from, I love this website, When Shit Hits the Fan Plan.com. It's SHTFplan.com, Mark Slavo. He's reporting that after grid down, starvation, supplies, shortage of food, long lines for gas, no clean water, and no transportation. A recent study noted that the majority of people have enough food in their pantries to feed their household for about 3 days, and that seemingly stable societies are really just 9 meals from anarchy. I love that. We're just 9 meals from anarchy, with most of us dependent on just-in-time transportation systems to always be available. Fewer ever consider the worst-case scenario. For tens of thousands of East Coast residents, that worst-case scenario is now playing out in real time. No longer are images of starving people waiting for government handouts restricted to just the third world. In the midst of crisis, once civilized societies will very rapidly descend into chaos when essential infrastructure systems collapse. Though the National Guard was deployed before the storm even hit, there is simply no way for the government to coordinate a response requiring millions of servings of food and medical supplies. Many East Coast residents who failed to evacuate or prepare reserve supplies, again, what would it hurt to prepare a little bit? Well, many East Coast residents failed to evacuate or even prepare at all ahead of the storm. They're now being forced to fend for themselves. Frustration and anger have taken hold as residents have no means of acquiring food or gas, and thousands of trucks across the region remain stuck in limbo. In limbo, they say. Limited electricity has made it possible for some to share their experiences. We got one report from Twitter. I guess I can read this. Is this a male or female voice? It would help for me. I don't know. Well, this from Twitter. I was in chaos tonight trying to get groceries. Lines for shuttle buses. Only to get to the no food left and closing early. That's not even grammatically correct, but to get to the no food left and closing early, maybe sign? I don't know. I'm not sure what has shocked me more. I'm reading Twitter quotes. I'm not sure what has shocked me more. All the communities around me destroyed or the 5-hour lines for gas and food. Yeah, that'd be a tough one. Let's see. The fact that everything's messed up from looting or standing in line for 5 hours for gas and food. Man, I wouldn't stand in line for 5 hours for gasoline. I guess I would just go nowhere or get on my bicycle. Like, gee. Anyhow, that's just me. Maybe I shouldn't speak so quickly. Here's a quote from Twitter. Haven't slept or ate well in a few days. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Hope things start getting better around here soon. That's the aspirations of somebody suffering from this hurricane disaster. This quote, these days a lot of people are impatient because they're because they're used to fast things. Fast food, fast internet, fast lines, and fast shipping, etc. This Twitter report says, glad Obama is off to Vegas after his 90-minute visit. Gas lines are miles long, running out of food and water. Yeah, Obama flies around the city. They get some news footage of him like, oh, I'm on the scene here. I'm right on top of this, like literally in a plane on my way to the airport where I will be flying to Vegas tonight and dining at the Bellagio. Terrible, simply terrible. Catch me in Vegas. Yeah, that's Obama. Went to the grocery store and lines were crazy, but nail salon was empty, so I've got a new gel manicure and some Korean junk food. There you go, a crappy nail manicure and some Korean junk food. So effing devastated right now, says this Twitter report. Smell burning houses, people fighting for food, pitch darkness. I may spend the night in a rockaway to help. I'm not sure what a rockaway is, but he might spend the night in it in order to help him. Things are starting to become horrific for the unprepared as food lines stretch for miles and meals ready to eat are in short supply. Got some pictures here of people with police, and they got these little card tables up there, and they're they got bottled water there. I don't see any food, and there's a line of people waiting for it. It's cold out there. This guy doesn't even have a coat on. I don't know. The boxes of meals ready to eat, and the military there, and just in case you need food. Dang. You know the military's eating because, why? They're prepared. They're prepared for exactly this kind of thing. Some have even been forced to resort to rummaging through the garbage for food. Man, there is a long, you should see these lines. Like, man, this is just all training and preparation for the future. I mean, I wish I could show you this photograph. It's got like a normal city block, could be here in Milwaukee, anywhere. And there's just got like maybe rows of like 30 people long going like for 2 blocks, 3 blocks deep. It wraps around the corner. I can't even see how long this line is. I can only wonder what they're standing in line for. I hate lines, personally. One guy is digging in the trash can, and he's like setting up Haagen-Dazs ice cream and anything you can find. I mean, look, man, when you're hungry, it's just amazing, isn't it? I'd like to say I hope we never have to go through that, but just statistically, there's no way in hell we're going to get away with it. All right, look, I need to take a little break here, and because of that, I have to put on Henry Kissinger. He's going to be calling in on the line, and we're going to do an interview with him. So let's do this commercial break and then talk to Henry. Henry, the bloodstains won't come off my hands no matter how hard I wash them, Kissinger. All right, I'm Michael Wordsworth. You're listening to Breaking Down the News on Friday, November 2nd, 2012. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
And now it is time to make light of the issues.
War criminals. I mean, we used to hunt down war criminals, put them on trial, and have them executed. Today, you have so many war criminals running around today. You've got Kissinger, George Bush, Barack Obama. All these guys should be put on trial. George Bush can't even go to Switzerland anymore. I'm telling you, they wanted to arrest him. But in America, it's just, yeah. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. This is a special Breaking Down the News celebrity call-in segment where we have known political figures call in and conduct an interview. Today's guest, he was once the National Security Advisor under Nixon during the Vietnam War era, and later Secretary of State. He's probably the most prominent unindicted war criminal roaming around today. I'd like to bring onto the show Mr. The Bloodstains Won't Come Off My Hands, no matter how hard I scrub them, Kissinger. Welcome to the show, you evil, bloodthirsty monster.
Good afternoon, Michael. Thank you for having me on your show.
Now, you've managed to really piss off a lot of people during your long career as a warmonger hiding in sheep's clothing.
I really have. If I had a conscience, this would really bother me. The illegal, we do immediately. The unconstitutional takes a little longer.
I'm not sure what the hell that means, but you were once a big man in foreign affairs throughout the world, and I bet it's hard to get on anyone's show these days, since people have been rightfully charging you as a war criminal.
The nice thing about being a celebrity is that if you bore people, they think it's your fault. Actually, I make a few public appearances now and then. I was recently honored at the conference on Indochina.
What?
I know. It is ironic, isn't it?
Wait. Let me get this straight. You, the man who, along with Richard Holbrooke, was part of the team in the Nixon White House, helping to craft the Vietnam policy, including Operation Phoenix, which saw the assassination of South Vietnamese political and religious leaders. You are attending this conference.
A country that demands moral perfection in its foreign policy will achieve neither perfection nor security.
But you, Mr. The Bloodstains Won't Come Off My Hands, no matter how hard I scrub them, Kissinger, authorized the war to bleed over into Cambodia. The terrible consequence was the eventual rise of Pol Pot and the Cambodian killing fields, and now they invite you to a conference on Indochina hosted by Hillary Clinton?
Imagine my chagrin. Ha 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 ha. Hillary Clinton had to introduce me, which wasn't easy, given her rude comments about me prior to the conference.
Oh, come on. She was just probably covering her own tush. You know she worships at the same altar of death that you do.
Perhaps, but it was ironic that she had to introduce me. Ha ha ha.
Now, in recent years, Mr. The Bloodstains Won't Come Off My Hands, no matter how hard I scrub them, Kissinger, you have come under fire for private comments once made to Nixon during the Bangladesh-Pakistani war, in which you described the then Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi as a, quote, bitch and a witch.
I regret that now.
What, saying that?
No, getting caught saying that. I regret that now.
You also said the Indians are bastards shortly before the war.
I did. What are you going to do, you know?
It's kind of surreal with the coup attempt in Ecuador that this harkens back to your policies in Latin America, which saw the overthrow and murder of Salvador Allende in Chile, and your prompting of Operation Condor in the Plan Mercurio, which oversaw the kidnapping of peoples in Latin American countries, leftist activists. These people were disappeared under Operation Condor, and now we have Hillary Clinton praising you for this evil well done.
It's not a matter of what is true that counts, but a matter of what is perceived to be true.
Do you see a parallel between Vietnam and Afghanistan today?
The war profits must flow unabated. Military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy.
I can't believe you just said that.
Well, I said it before, and I will say it again. Here, I will say it again right now. Military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns in foreign policy.
Mr. Kissinger, you are indeed a madman. It is hard to believe that you played such a pivotal role in our country's foreign policy for decades, and that is all the time I will lend to your madness. You're out of here.
It was a pleasure being on your show, Michael. Good day.
And good riddance. I am Michael Wordsworth, having just interviewed Henry, the bloodstains won't come off my hands no matter how hard I scrub them, Kissinger. Back in a moment. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. America has devolved into a fast-expanding welfare state, quickly surpassing $1 trillion a year. This article from naturalnews.com. When people say that America is the land of the free, they are not kidding. That's because a record number of our citizens are now on some form of government assistance, with Uncle Sam's dwindling number of taxpayers being forced to cough up more than $1 trillion a year to fund more than 120 separate welfare programs. Roughly 100 million, one-third of the U.S. population, receive aid from at least one means-tested welfare program each month. Average benefits come to around $9,000 per recipient, said the Heritage Foundation, pulling data from a Congressional Research Service report requested by Republicans on the Senate Budget Committee. If all that largesse were converted to cash, quote, means-tested welfare spending is more than 5 times the amount needed to eliminate all poverty in the United States, said Heritage. But poverty has not been eliminated. Far from it. I mean, really, you can feed a man by giving him a fish today, or you can teach him to fish and feed him for a lifetime, can't you? Well, what do we got going on here? We've got the breeding of a welfare state. These figures are astounding. They are also sad for a nation that once took pride in hard work, self-sufficiency, and being independent. Whose fault is this? What's going on? Why are more and more Americans getting on the dole? Let's look at that. When President Obama took office in January 2009, in the throes of one of the worst economic recessions in the history of the country, spending on welfare was already high. The CRS said the government spent $563 billion in fiscal year 2008. 3 years later, in fiscal year 2011, that figure rose to 32% to $746 billion. What happened? Was it all related to the recession? Well, this quote from the Washington Times explains, "The numbers tell a complex story of American taxpayers' generosity in supporting a varied social safety net, including food stamps, support for low-income AIDS patients, and child care payments, and direct cash going from taxpayers to the poor." That according to the Washington Times. The biggest expenditure in this labyrinth of social safety net is Medicaid. That's right. Believe it or not, I mean, I guess that's totally believable, isn't it? Medicaid is huge in the budget. By far, Medicaid was part of the original Great Society legislation dating back to 1964 and Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. Medicaid falls under a federal state funding mechanism, but Washington by far pays the lion's share of costs. The next highest thing, and one moment, let me just cut to this commercial real quick here.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Time with two little girls.
Every day, our senses are being constantly bombarded by subliminal messages that are found in TV, movies, and advertisements. The subliminal messages we are subjected to are unrecognizable by the conscious mind and only recognizable in our subconscious mind. The messages and imagery are passively absorbed and then stored in our subconscious, where propagandists deliberately implant artificial thoughts, which in turn can affect our actions and attitudes later in life.
You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. You are indeed listening to RiverWestRadio.com. I'm Michael Wordsworth. I'm reading about the state of the welfare situation in America. The biggest expenditures of a social safety net is Medicaid. By far, Medicaid was part of the original Great Society legislation dating back to 1964 and Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. Medicaid falls under a federal state funding mechanism, but Washington by far pays the lion's share of costs. The next highest expenditure are food stamps. Costs for this program are nearly double now that what they were in 2008. The program, which is managed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, now comprises 20% or 1/5 of all Medicaid-related costs. Several programs to funnel cash to the poor also ranked high, according to the New York Times, citing CRS data. They quote, "Led by the Earned Income Tax Credit, Supplemental Security Income, and the Additional Child Tax Credit, direct cash aid accounts for about 1/5 of all welfare." Some recession, huh? Worse than we thought. The administration has often said, but not so fast. Granted, economic conditions have been slow to recover, and that's another discussion for another time, but this administration has also had a big hand, in actually expanding Medicaid-related costs. Over the course of the past year, the White House has loosened once tougher requirements for receiving welfare assistance. One of those requirements reached during the welfare reform years of a Democratic President Bill Clinton and a Republican Congress in the middle 1990s was that recipients who were able to work had to work. At the time, the concept was dubbed welfare to work. In fact, and it was a huge success. That was then. In the past year, that requirement has been eliminated. And now for the rest of the story. The Obama administration's Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius has given states permission to waive those work requirements. Naturally, of course, with the blessing of her boss, President Obama. This one policy change has caused most of the exponential growth in welfare rolls. Critics called the administration on the change, but they answered that they didn't gut welfare reform. Are they being honest? Well, this quote says, working closely with members of Congress. Who's saying this? I hate this because who is giving this quote? Okay, this is written by Heritage's Robert Rector in the Washington Post. Okay, there we go. Robert Rector says, Working closely with members of Congress, I helped draft the work requirements in the 1996 law, and I raised the alarm on July 12th when the Obama administration issued a bureaucratic order allowing states to waive those requirements. The law has indeed been gutted, writes Heritage's Robert Rector in the Washington Post. Rector should know he helped draft the work requirements in the original 1996 law. In the same piece, he went on to say that following the reform of 1996, welfare rolls dropped by half, and the poverty rate for black children was halved. That's number one. Secondly, the Obama administration is actually encouraging people to get on welfare programs, writes Michael Tanner, a senior fellow at the libertarian-leaning Cato Institute. What came on top of work requirement waivers was a new ad campaign using Spanish-language soap operas to encourage more Latinos to sign up for food stamps. In addition, the administration actually gave a special award to an agricultural department worker who found ways to combat the mountain pride, discouraging Appalachian residents from taking full advantage of food stamps and other welfare programs. This environment left little doubt that the administration's message was loud and clear. More Americans should be getting welfare, Tanner wrote. Combined, these two efforts alone have accounted for most of the record growth in the numbers of Americans receiving benefits and the costs associated with providing those benefits. The end result, if we don't change course, will be the creation of the world's largest welfare state, one that we simply cannot afford. And why not? Because somebody has to be able to pay for the welfare. Money's not free. It really isn't, even though they print it. That's only because there's a long explanation for that, but it's actually not free. If it was, you'd have money right now and you'd be in abundance with money. So we got more news. Stay tuned.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. Let's talk about those little pink ribbons that I've been seeing on Facebook out there, everybody getting behind them. Keep in mind, we have a nation growing in cancer rates. The way to combat this, apparently, is people put up little pink ribbons and to increase an awareness of cancer. But are they really? I mean, seriously, the cancer industry basically is always searching for a cure, but never the cause. As far as we know, in the mainstream consciousness of America, the only cause of cancer is cigarette smoking, or possibly sucking on asbestos in your FEMA trailer camp. Mobile home there filled with asbestos. There's no other cause for cancer, they ever say. Nothing. None of the poisons, pollutants, toxins, chemicals, and none of that could possibly cause cancer. We need to find the cure, and to find that cure, we need to put more pink ribbons out there on everything. Let's just decorate pink ribbons in this warm-hearted, I'm creating awareness for cancer. Well, no, you're really not. You're just going along with what these idiots want you to do, and that's put up pink ribbons and then feel good about yourself and then go back to eating the toxic chemicals and poisons that are, in fact, giving you the cancer. The population at large is finally starting to wise up about breast cancer awareness, not so much as it pertains to the prevalence of the disease. You would have to be burrowed up in a hole these days and not to be aware of the existence of breast cancer, but rather in regards to how all the pink for the cure hysteria represents the total commercialization and corruption of the breast cancer industry. An increasing number of women are growing disillusioned with all the pink t-shirts, pink bracelets, pink hats, pink buckets of KFC chicken, pink alcoholic malt beverages, and other outlandish pink merchandise that has ingrained itself into popular culture. They're also getting tired of having the color pink thrown in their faces as a symbol of disease, not to mention one that has been corporatized to such an astounding degree that even professional sports players now drink pink, dry themselves with pink towels. And I was going to say drink pink Gatorade and shoes. They wear pink shoes during corporate-sponsored games. Sexualization of breast cancer illustrates lunacy of pink ribbon madness. Then there are the not-so-subtle sexual references to the breasts of women and other crass and childish allusions to women's breasts, which are enough to make any dignified breast cancer sufferer or survivor squirm with discomfort as they venture out into public. Some of the more juvenile catchphrases bearing sexual connotations say things like, "I heart boobies" and "save second base," which can often be seen printed on T-shirts and tank tops worn by both men and women. Well, if you really wanted to save them, why don't you concern yourself with the cause of cancer? I just said that out there. I'd say only 10% would take that to heart. The other 90% are going to continue putting up pink ribbons and never look into the cause of cancer. Remember, only cigarette smoke can cause cancer. And I just lied to you. Okay, I was being sarcastic in a cynical way. No, cigarette smoke is not the only cause of cancer. Carcinogens are. All this nonsense might be somewhat excusable if the Komen, K-O-M-E-N, for the cure pink efforts were actually making a real difference in preventing and curing breast cancer. But based on the available facts and figures, the only substantial change throughout the past decade has been an enormous transfer of wealth from compassionate yet naive donors to corporate interests promoting the disease brand rather than the discovery of any actual solutions. It might not be popular to talk about, but the untold millions of dollars that have been donated to groups like Komen for the Cure since the company's inception have not gotten any closer to a cure for cancer. At least not a conventionally accepted cure. Komen still does not even tell women about all the scientifically proven foods and herbs that help prevent the development of breast cancer, let alone share any details about advancements in unconventional treatment such as the Gerson method by Dr. Burzynski. Anti-neoplastons. There we go. Yay! The anti-neoplastons. Corporations whose products cause cancer are capitalizing on the pink mania. Isn't that sick? The very people who make products with the poisonous cancer-causing chemicals are the very ones that are capitalizing on all this pink sentiment. Another major area of concern is the way pink products and labels have been adopted by the very companies and corporations whose products are linked to causing cancer in the first place. KFC's ridiculous Buckets for the Cure campaign, for example, is hugely inappropriate in light of the fact that the chain's fried chicken is filled with cancer-causing acrylamides, genetically modified organisms known as GMOs, and other toxic chemicals. Simply put, there's a lot of money to be made from capitalizing on cancer, as morbid as it might sound to some. Nonprofit groups like Komen for the Cure and Live Strong, not to mention the entire multi-billion-dollar cancer industry, would not exist if effective cures and prevention methods were widely disseminated to the general public. Just think about what would happen to all that pink gear if women were given even simple cancer prevention guidelines that include things like avoiding toxic bisphenol A, which is known as BPA, which is an estrogen-producing soy products, also estrogen-producing soy products, for instance, and instead taking cancer-preventing superfoods and herbal supplements. Well, reading from naturalnews.com, when I come back, I am going to read 6 steps to take today to naturally prevent breast cancer. So we're creating an actual awareness, not just putting up a stupid pink ribbon and then going out to the bar and drinking and being a mindless idiot afterwards. Did I say that? Well, if you're a mindless idiot, screw you, I don't care. What do you want? You can call me up right now and insult me too. 414-935-2951. Tell me that I'm wrong because I don't want to put pink ribbons on everything and remain blind to the causes of cancer while only feeling good about, oh, I put pink ribbons up and I'm supporting the cure. Okay? You can call in 414-935-2951. We'll be back in actually, how long? 26 seconds.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. All right, 6 steps to take today to naturally prevent breast cancer. This article is from naturalnews.com. Take matters into your own hands and ignore the preventative measures offered by the Komen Foundation types which actually function to snare you into the toxic and lucrative cancer industry early. Here are 6 ways to stay away from the mainstream cancer industry and protect yourself from breast cancer. Number 1, Komen Cancer Industry Early Detection Lies. Early detection methods promoted by these charitable groups, as they're called, actually help cause breast cancer. Mammograms, listen closely, mammograms emit highly carcinogenic radiation. Add this to the many false mammogram positives that put women into chemo or radiation treatments unnecessarily. According to Dr. John McDougall, by the time mammography detects cancers, he says, quote, they have been growing 8 to 14 years. By this time, the disease is spread to the rest of the body and it is unreachable by surgery or radiation. Fortunately, thermal imagery is safe and able to perceive tumors during their inception. After detection, more hazardous imagery may be needed for measurement purposes. Search for thermal imagery locations. Other accurate lab blood tests are available as well. Okay, number 2, dietary preventative measures. Heavy red meat and alcohol consumption increase the risk of breast cancer. Most doctors don't warn about consuming sugar even after cancer becomes obvious. They ignore the fact that cancer cells thrive on sugar. Synthetic artificial sweeteners cause other serious problems as well. Stevia and honey are okay. Eat all the honey and stevia you want within reason. I mean, it's not going to give you breast cancer. Consume high amounts of green and cruciferous vegetables. Boy, there's a new vocabulary word for me. Cruciferous. Damn it, let's check it up. I mean, I can't even take it. I find a new vocabulary word and I have to. Cruciferous. Boom. Turns out that word is derived from the Latin crux, cross. Oh, there you go. Having 4 equal parts. And it's of, relating to, or denoting plants of the cabbage family. All right, there we go. How do you get the Latin cross and cabbage together? I'm sure there's an interesting story on that one. The etymology of that would be, I don't know, just to be at least an interesting note to read on air here. But so avoid processed trans fatty acid, hydrogenized oils, and canola oils. No, that's not what I was reading. Consume high amounts of green and cruciferous vegetables, which we now know pertain to cabbage vegetables, along with ample amounts of green tea. Use only organic cold-pressed oils, such as olive, sunflower, or coconut oils. Avoid processed trans fatty acid, hydrogenized oils, and canola oils, which is rapeseed oil, because it rapes you from your nutrients and kills you because it's GMO. Make an effort to avoid fast foods. Yeah, definitely make an effort. Just avoid fast foods and processed items, most of which contain GMOs. Have you seen the tumors on rats fed GMOs yet? Yeah. Russia's doing a live reality TV show that's on air to show you what GMO food does to mammals. We are mammals. Ouch. Not good. Okay, avoid carcinogenic pollutants. Here we go. Cigarette smoke from your smoking or from other contains one of the worst carcinogenics, cadmium. Cadmium. So do many batteries used today. Make sure they're kept tucked away and properly disposed when spent. Dang, I paint with cadmium paint all the time. I do oil painting, and it just freaks me out. My hands are just kind of, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you when I come back, but let me just take this quick break and we'll be right back.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. I'm on air reading about cancer prevention and considerations for breast cancer, which means that these are things that you actually, instead of just putting up a stupid pink ribbon, I'm ripping on the ribbon today because it reminds me of like the green movement, the let's all go green. But what does that really mean? Because we put up green bumper stickers and use the word green. We're actually not taking steps to stop anything that's harming the environment or ourselves. So today we're picking on the color pink as it's associated to ribbons, because I've even been on the Breaking Down the News at Facebook.com. I've been getting these, well-meaning posts that's, I support breast cancer awareness, but I'm online here reading to you actual breast cancer facts that will help you avoid them, things the doctors won't tell you because they're making money. The entire the cancer industry as a whole is not concerned in finding a cure. I was just reading earlier how muscular dystrophy, which we all remember Jerry Lewis, he recently came to the realization that this thing is a fraud, and he's been played this whole time. His intentions were sincere. He really thought he was doing a good thing and helping, but he found out that when somebody approached him with an actual cure for muscular dystrophy, and it was a simple remedy, actually, I can't quote it off the top of my head, wish I could remember, but I'm sure you can Google Jerry Lewis fired from the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation simply because he wanted to bring them the cure. We can't have cures because then we can't have an open season on suckers and rape them through the medical industry. That's what the cancer industry is. They put toxins and poisons in your food, don't tell you about it, and then you get cancer, and then they take in donations and money trying to give you more poisons that are just going to hurt you even worse. But we operate from a consensus perceived reality now, which is very dangerous. It's kind of like walking off the edge of a cliff with a blindfold on and insisting that, no, I'm not falling because I can't see it. Okay, topical toxins to avoid pertaining to breast cancer. Most commercial cosmetics contain carcinogens such as parabens and phthalates. Hope I pronounced those correctly. Most underarm deodorants contain aluminum, which is toxic and carcinogenic. Shop for natural cosmetics in your local health food stores. Ditto for sunscreens, which should be only used for extreme sun exposures. Actually, it turns out, I'm surprised this article is not mentioning this, that the sunscreens actually contribute to, not only do they not work, but they contribute to the cancer. Set you up for it. Actually, there's a whole list of things that actually contribute to cancer. It's not one thing. I speak of the causes. The causes are right off the bat sugar. It throws off your pH and makes you prone to disease and cancer. Carcinogens, such as BPAs in the plastic and certain canned goods. Bisphenol A is totally carcinogenic. You've got aluminum being sprayed all over the sky, aluminum cookware, you've got aluminum deodorant. I mean, do you get it? They don't know what to do with this aluminum, so they put it in your products, and then you eat, drink, or wear these things, and that's the way they get rid of these toxic chemicals. On us, we're human trash dispensers, I guess, for toxic wastelands. What else? How else could I describe that? Well, use only all-natural detergents for your clothes and seek non-perchlorethane, which is short, non-perc, alternative technology dry cleaners. All the normally commercial stuff is carcinogenic. Yuck. I'm never going to a dry cleaner again. I don't anyhow, but I have in the past, and look, I need to minimize my cancer too. I have not female breasts, but men do have a chest, and we're prone to cancer. So I don't know. Maybe we should put up a light pink blue ribbon, or no, we shouldn't. All right, let me continue with the real facts and news here. Number 5, recommended supplements. Here, maintain a high blood level of vitamin D3, not D2, D3, to inhibit cancer cell growth. You should experience a moderate amount of direct sunlight without glass between you and the sun, or use UVB tanning beds to increase your D3 blood levels. And again, you should experience a moderate amount of direct sunlight, meaning don't bake yourself, but you need at least 20 minutes of sun for the D vitamin to process. Or apparently, according to naturalnews.com, which is very trustworthy, Mike Adams there, Dr. Mercola, all these guys, they tend not to put out information that's incorrect. That's why we go to them as a news source. They say you can actually use UVB, not UVA, but UVB tanning beds to increase your D3 blood levels. Independent studies indicate that vitamin D3 blood levels measured with a 25 OHD test should be above 50 nanograms per milliliter. Some suggest 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter to protect against cancer. The recommended daily amounts for supplementing D3 of 600 to 800 IU are not enough. It can take 4,000 to 10,000 units or more of naturally derived D3 supplements to get your D3 blood levels where they should be. Holy crap. I've been worried about, I take nutrients and supplements, and I've got specifically D3, and I've been on the bottle it says, don't take more than 2 of these a day, but seriously, for what they're telling me, we need way more than 2 pills a day to get your levels where they need to be. I wish there was some kind of test where I could actually test how my vitamin levels are. Since I've been taking nutrients, I cannot begin to... People tell me I look healthy, look great. I feel better even when I'm sick or run down, which, I'm not Superman. I get sick, I get run down, and I still don't get that devastating, wiped out sick feeling, and I just end up taking more nutrients and rest, and I've been doing much better, honestly. Other helpful supplements include, I have no idea what this is, but CoQ10 vitamin C and other antioxidants. Supplementing with resveratrol may inhibit estrogen growth factors that could lead to cancer-causing hormonal imbalances. Oh yeah, hormonal imbalances for sure. Little girls reaching puberty at 6 now. There's got to be a reason why. It's a little young for that. Keep your hormones balanced. Birth control pills, BPA in plastic food containers, and inner linings of cans, and synthetic hormone replacement therapies can actually be gateways to breast cancer by upsetting your sex hormone balance. Avoid them. That would be a good step indeed. So there you go. There's some actual living color... living color. Yes, we're brought to you in living color. Here we go.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Well, this is the following program. It's in living color. That's right. The sound is pink. It's just radiating with pinkness. All right. Apparently, I need to take a break here. Everybody deserves a break. I'm going to take a good one here. We interviewed Henry Kissinger. We also have coming in on the line David Evil Rockefeller. That's right, David Evil Rockefeller. Let's have him phone in. David, if you're out there, give us a call. We're going to take a commercial, and hopefully when we get back, you'll be on the line. All right, listeners, stay tuned. We're here till the top of the hour at 6 o'clock. It's now 5:25. In the west sky, the chemtrails are dissipating nicely into the sunset. I reported seeing one earlier. Well, I went back out there, got some coffee, and saw just a big crisscross pattern. It's like vandalism in the sky. It's repulsive to me, but what am I supposed to do other than try to create more awareness? Like breast cancer, there's so many issues that we need to create awareness about. Where do you begin? You begin by telling your friends and family. Start your own radio show. Start your own newspapers. Go on radio, cable access. Do what you got to do, people. If everybody takes up the mantle, so to speak, and carries this cross a little bit, the better we all would be. We can't rely on other people to do everything. If you don't want to do anything, at least don't agree to the lies and have the courage to stand up against them in the fear of social ostracizing. Don't collapse to it. Stand strong. Truth is best defended from its own position. All right, Mr. Rockefeller, we need you to call in and create some comedy here for us on this Friday, November 2nd, 2012 episode, where we're talking about everything from Hurricane Sandy to breast cancer and the upcoming elections, and we've got other police state developing news. Please, please, please don't go away. You're listening to RiverWestRadio.com. Once again, the Bilderberg meeting is happening today in Chantilly, Virginia, where many of Europe's top bankers and technocrats are gathering in secret to plan the global economy for the next 12 months. To get a deeper view of this, Breaking Down the News has met with David Rockefeller in Virginia. Mr. Rockefeller, thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course. I'm sure this is a big moment in your pathetic life as a news talk show host.
Now, do you prefer that I call you Evil or just Mr. Rockefeller or David Evil Rockefeller?
Ooh, that sounds good, yes. Call me David Evil Rockefeller. I like the sound of that.
Very well, Mr. Evil Rockefeller. Now, Bilderberg, the not-so-secret meeting taking place this week...
Now, hold on there a second. We are grateful to the Washington Post, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. But now, since the New York Times betrayed me, I would like to retract my praise for the cowardly media outlets that leaked our little get-togethers to the mainstream. Boo! Hiss! Hiss! It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries.
But Mr. Evil...
That's David Evil Rockefeller to you.
My apologies.
No, you should get it right. You're a reporter for Lucifer's sake.
Pardon me, David Evil Rockefeller.
That's better. Normally, we hate to be forced out of the shadows, but some fat bastard keeps blowing a bullhorn at my hotel room all weekend, shouting, "The answer to 1984 is 1776 or something like that." I mean, what the Hades does that mean? Well, this unruly blowhard has got the people all up in arms.
Well, yes, the people are revolting.
They most certainly are.
Pardon?
The people, yes, they are most revolting.
No, I meant the people are revolting against these secret meetings taking place now that the public has become aware of them.
Oh, that. Well, of course, but they don't pay attention. They don't listen. Most don't even know who I am or what I do.
That isn't true. Not of the young people these days. They don't see much of a future ahead of them because of men like you and the Bilderberg attendees. The younger generations are starting to really pay attention.
Ah, but that is exactly why I created Justin Bieber. Made him out of some spare parts I had laying around.
I would still say the tide is turning and the people are waking up to your corrupt technocratic system.
This present window of opportunity, during which a truly peaceful and independent world order might be built, will not be open for long. We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order.
All right, calm down. At this year's meeting of the Bilderbergers, you've got some big-time European heavyweights there. Dr. Joseph Ackerman, Angela Merkel, Herman Van Rompuy, all meeting with you to figure out what to do with the economy for the next 12 months. Now, if Greece is to leave the Eurozone, the rumor is that the Bilderbergs are panicking.
I don't think Greece is going to leave the Euro. Germany doesn't want it to leave the Euro, and Greece signed off on this memorandum with Troika, as it's called, which is effectively turning their sovereignty over to outside forces, and it's up to Germany, not the Greek people. They lost their sovereignty. I don't see that happening. It's not up to them. It's not their choice. Germany wants to keep Greece, to keep the euro cheap. If it wasn't for Greece, the Deutschmark would trade like the Swiss franc. It would be 20 or 30% higher, and their whole export model would crumble. Right now, Germany is making it out like bandits. They're making money the old-fashioned way.
By earning it?
No, by stealing it. Since the reunification of Germany, something that wouldn't have happened without the euro, Germany has become a superpower once again.
Basically, it's a leveraged buyout. All the assets of Greece are being taken by outsiders. And those are good income-producing assets like shipping, tourism, lotteries.
You are forgetting the gold mines. Don't forget the gold mines.
Right, gold mines. Those were privatized and sold off, correct?
Yes, approximately 111 tons of gold. I'm going to melt it all down and make little figurines of Justin Bieber that the kids can pray to.
But the IMF is bankrupt and they're lending money to Greece? They had to borrow trillions to execute a leveraged buyout.
Ah, but the real trick is getting the Greeks to sign on to this debt. Get it? We borrow the money to lend to them and then take over their sovereignty as we buy out their assets. It's brilliant, simply brilliant.
And then those assets go back to the IMF creditors.
They want the fees. Christine Lagarde says, just give me the fees. Give me my salary and you can rob the Greeks blind for all I care.
Evil. Truly evil.
That is why I am called David Evil Rockefeller.
So, it's like Mitt Romney when he was at Bain Capital. They just look for small companies and cut them. And in a like manner, Greece is just a small country that you can seize with a hostile takeover?
It is a Jimmy Goldsmith model, done on a bigger scale. Same thing. You pledge the assets of a country like Greece to secure loans to take over the country. Sell the assets, keep the difference, make lots of money. The people lose their sovereignty, their jobs, and I get to add another platinum-covered toilet in my horse stable.
So these Bilderberg meetings are a great way for you and the world's leaders to meet behind the scenes with no transparency and just basically decide the fate of any given economy.
Well, yes, and up until now it was a secret, but no matter. It was no coincidence that we took Ireland, Greece, Portugal, and then Spain in that order. This year, the big question is, where do we go next? France? Maybe UK is an interesting choice. It's similar to how you peasants buy houses, but we get entire countries for pennies on the dollar, you see.
The IMF, since the 60s, has preyed on Africa, then South America, then Southeast Asia.
Yes, well, while America was obsessed with Iraq, we were very busy taking over those regions.
But China threw you a curveball. They had a different model.
Well, China did good business, and that is inconsistent with Bilderberger policy. However, the U.S. can't really tangle with China because China is now the U.S. biggest creditor, and the whole thing is a sticky situation.
I would like to read you a quote from Bill Moyers about you. May I?
Ooh, yes, if it's about me. Mommy always talked about me and I liked it. Talk about me, talk about me.
David Evil Rockefeller is the most conspicuous representative today of the ruling class, a multinational fraternity of men who shaped the global economy and managed the flow of its capital. Rockefeller was born into it, and he has made the most of it. But some critics see a vast international conspiracy he considers a circumstance of life and just another day's work. In the world of David Rockefeller, it's hard to tell where business ends and politics begins.
It is. It really is. Some days I wonder how history will look back on my takeover of the United States, and they will ask that very question and just don't know how I would answer even now.
So you admit that you want to take over the United States?
For more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidents, such as my encounter with Castro, to attack the Rockefeller family for inordinate influence they claim we wield over American political and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it.
Wait, didn't you write that in your personal memoirs?
Ooh, you're a smart one, Mr. Wordsworth.
Well, thank you, I guess.
No, I hate that. Hate it. The second we gain control of America, people like you will have to go. And by go, I mean disappeared with black hoods over your heads. Now that is scary. You should be scared. Very scared.
I am not afraid.
Oh, you will be. You will be.
This has been an exclusive interview with David Evil Rockefeller in Chantilly, Virginia. I'm Michael Wordsworth. Back in a moment.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
This is Breaking Down the News, bringing you headlines that should have made the front pages. Streaming live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard.
And now, live from River West Radio, the man with Wordsworth listening to, your host, Michael Wordsworth.
That's right. We're back in black. Dr. McCullough attacked by biotech bullies. For those of you that do not know Dr. McCullough, check him out, drmccullough.com. Also, actually, Mercola.com. That's spelled MERCOLA.com. Hey, kind of like a Mercola. I'll take 2 Mercolas, no ice, because I don't want tap water in it, and call me in the morning. We all know that labeling genetically engineered foods is a common sense right that is enjoyed by over 50 other countries, including China, India, and Russia. But for Americans, that right has been taken away from us. The chemical companies and the junk food companies have done everything possible to hide the truth from Americans for the sake of their profits. I knew going into this battle that it would be a significant challenge and risk to me personally, states Dr. Mercola. You see, when you fight against major chemical companies like Monsanto, you're sure to get a little dirty along the way. The processed food and chemical companies have paid over $40 million to hide the science experiment that has secretly ended up on the dinner plates of hundreds of millions of unknowing Americans. These multinational corporations are worried and will do anything to keep you in the dark. Keep in mind that the top 6 funders of No on 37, Proposition 37, is a California-sponsored bill that would require the labeling of GMO products. I once had a girl tell me, "You silly hippie." I'm not a hippie, but it's funny if you talk about health or organic food, you're immediately a hippie, a granola eating hippie. I love granola. There's nothing wrong with it, you know. And, where the hell was it? Well, the 6 funders of the No on 37 are also the 6 largest pesticide companies in the world. I mean, would it be any shock to know that the 6 big pesticide producing companies in the world don't want you to know that GMO foods are dangerous? That alone should tell you that their stance has nothing to do with your health and well-being, just their profits. This was just one of the ads that Monsanto and company have been sending voters to discredit Dr. McCullough with lies. This is no surprise considering how many people, including farmers, Monsanto has attacked in the past. The ad shows Props 37's sponsors stand to profit. The biggest funder of Prop 37 is Joseph Mercola, a controversial non-practicing doctor from Illinois who is opposed to vaccinations for children, mammograms for women, and chemotherapy for cancer patients. Sounds good to me. Mercola makes millions selling alternative health supplements and food products online, which are exempt under Proposition 37. By promoting Proposition 37, which I don't even get that. I'm reading you an advertisement that is supposed to besmirch Dr. McCullough's reputation. Oh my God, he's making millions on selling actual health supplements that boost your immune system and give you nutrition online. Oh no. And they're exempt from Proposition 37. Yeah, Proposition 37 pertains to labeling the poisonous, toxic use of GMO that gives you kidney and liver failure. By promoting Prop 37, Mercola and other organic food companies would profit enormously at the expense of consumers. My God, that's a sick line. Which is why Mercola has already invested $1.1 million in the campaign. No, he did that out of his own kind heart to help inform people of GMOs. Of course, these 6 big chemical companies are putting out this ad to try to get you, the consumer, to minimize Dr. McCullough as some crack doctor who wants to warn you about poisons when... Look, it's a fact. There is no doubt GMO foods are incredibly dangerous to the entire human population on Earth. We have reported so much on GMO foods here that I'm not even going to go into it, but let me read how these false claims and misrepresentations are used to mislead voters. The No on 37 campaign has been caught misinforming voters again and again. And by No on 37, I mean those opposed to labeling GMO foods as GMO foods, right on the label. Saying, warning, GMO foods could cause sterility. Do not take this thing. For example, on October 18th, the California Right to Know, which is for Proposition 37, their campaign requested the U.S. Department of Justice conduct a criminal investigation of the opponents of the campaign for possible fraudulent misuse of the official seal of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. According to this press release, the Justice Department should investigate this fraudulent, dirty trick perpetuated by the No on 37 campaign, said Gary Ruskin, campaign manager of California's Right to Know, and he votes yes on 37. I quote him, "They are running a campaign of lies, deceit, and trickery, and some of it may be criminal." Well, without a doubt, just feeding people this food is criminal, but it's going to take enough of us to wake up and be aware, like the people in Europe and Russia. They won't eat it. Hell, starving Africans have learned not to eat this food because it made their people sick and die. Do you understand? This is serious stuff. The No on 37 campaign affixed the FDA's seal to one of the campaign's mailers. Section 506 of the U.S. Criminal Code states, and I quote, Whoever knowingly uses, affixes, or impresses any such fraudulently made, forged, counterfeited, mutilated, or altered seal or facsimile thereof to or upon any certificate, instrument, commission, document, or paper of any description shall be defined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. The letter also provides evidence that the No on 37 campaign falsely attributed to a direct quote to the FDA in the campaign mailer. The quoted attribution, which appears below, is entirely false and fabricated. The FDA did not make this statement and does not take a position on Proposition 37. And the little ad, or the little label, has the FDA logo on it, and it says, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration says a labeling policy like Proposition 37 would be inherently misleading. Well, it's inherently misleading to put the FDA's logo on this and then say that. Well, other unethical transgressions employed to confuse voters who are still on the fence, meaning undecided, would include the repeated misrepresentation of their lead spokesman, the longtime frontman for the tobacco industry, Dr. Miller. In campaign advertisements, Dr. Miller has been presented as being affiliated with Stanford University, when in fact he has no such affiliation. The misrepresentation is in direct violation of the university's policies, and when Stanford learned about the false use of its name, they demanded that the No on 37 campaign change the ad. Here's another point. According to the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the world's largest organization for food and nutrient professionals, No on 37 misled the public about the Academy's stance on genetically engineered foods in the Secretary of State official California Voter Information Guide. The press release 2 issued by the Academy read in part, quote, the California Official Voter Information Guide regarding Proposition 37 inaccurately states that the Academy has concluded that biotech foods are safe. That statement is false. We are concerned that California voters are being misled. Voters need accurate information in order to make an informed choice. It's interesting, we have a puppy wandering around the studio here. I have no idea. And we've also got two of Milwaukee's great musicians, Freddie Lee and Desmond Bowen, standing outside here, doing their thing. These guys are living legends. I don't know how long they're going to live, but we wish them well. They're still kicking it. All right, I'm Michael Wordsworth. We covered Hurricane Sandy extensively. Gave some props to Dr. Mercola. Good luck on that campaign to get this poisonous GMO food labeled. We're pulling up to the top of the hour here, and I'm going to pull out so that we can get our next show on. Ingrid's Inspirational Hour should be coming up. I'd also like to shout out that Dan Lawsey, who was our guest on last Friday's show, will be appearing at the Port of Hamburg here in Milwaukee on November 10th. He's for the Hunger, It's the Hunger Benefit Show of punk rock bands. And he's going to be speaking before, during, and after the shows to create awareness on topics, anything from women's rights to animal rights to the rights of all of us in general. Mr. Lawsey, definitely, he's from Boston. He's got his own website, which name outlookspeaks.org. Oh, crap. Search Dan Lawsey, Lozzi. Incredible speaker and a great human being, and we're glad to have him coming here November 10th at the Port of Hamburg to help along with the Hunger, I forget the exact, Hunger for something, Punk Rock for Hunger drive thing. I should know this stuff, but I'm really bad at these PSAs. All right, look, like I said, we're going to pull out of here. Thank you for listening today. It is Friday, November 2nd. Got the elections coming up. We're going to see how the weather plays out on those elections and find out really what's going to happen in this country. The next guy to come up, it's going to be amazing. I will enjoy covering the aftermath of the 2012 election. I'm Michael Wordsworth. You've been listening to Breaking Down the News on RiverWestRadio.com. Thank you for joining us. Have a good day.